Hi everyone, Rebecca the Frugal Resinista here. Catherine of Drier Days Art Studio challenged me to make a geode with borders like she does, and I accepted the challenge, so I hope you enjoy my video. I'm Rebecca the Frugal Resinista. I'm the mom of 5 amazing little kids, but I discovered a couple years ago that I needed something that was just for me, so I tried resin painting, and I fell in love with it. But I quickly discovered that being a resin artist was really expensive. So I started exploring ways that I could create beautiful art but do it on a budget. Once I discovered that that was possible, my new goal became to teach other people how to do the same thing so that resin art could be accessible for anyone. I believe that there's an artist in all of us, and we just need the opportunity to discover it in ourselves. Thank you for joining me on my art journey, and I hope that you create your own art as well as you learn from my videos. Remember, no matter what your final product looks like, your art is beautiful because you created it with your own hands. Ooh, it's on fire. Alright you guys, for the beginning of this challenge, I am going to be using Epoxy Sculpt. This is a modeling compound that is kind of like clay but is strong like resin, and I have never used it before. I have followed Catherine's tutorials and been watching how she does it, and I'm going to try it. You can get this in lots of different sizes, and I'll link you to a few different sizes, and I will also have them in my Amazon store listed below. And I got the small size right now because I've never used it before and I wasn't sure if I would like it. If I like it, I'm going to get more. I have a feeling I'm going to, because the way that she does her borders and boundaries is really cool. So after reading the instructions, this is just like using the epoxy resin, where it is mixed the same amount of part A and part B. And because these are tiny, I'm going to mix the whole thing because I'm going to do quite a few barriers on here. And I want to make sure that I have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and speed it up once I read instructions. Okay, so I've watched a few of Catherine's tutorials, and her challenge was that she wanted me to make barriers with my geode, and obviously you guys know I pour a big mess all over the place. So I'm excited to try this. It's going to be really cool. I also don't measure a darn thing. And Catherine does, and hers are beautiful. She makes them very symmetrical. So I'm going to start making an attempt here. I'm using a 12 by 16 canvas for this that I got on sale at Michael's. And so I'm going to just measure. Let's see. I'll start my 4, 8. I'm just going to kind of measure every inch except for the middle, because I want to have a little more stones in that section. And then what she does is she connects these and creates the design with pencil. Obviously, you guys know that I am not good at planning ahead. I'm using a pen, so I hope I don't mess it up. Catherine, you're probably dying if you're watching this. But I'm going to connect these and try to make them symmetrical, still with some design. And then I'm going to mix my Epoxy Sculpt, which I'll show you in a second, and start creating my barriers. And let me talk to you guys about this Epoxy Sculpt. Just open this up. This is really cool looking stuff, and I've watched Catherine's videos a few times on her doing this. It's got a part A and part B, just like our regular epoxy resin that we always use has, and it's mixed equal parts, again just like ours. You can get it in all different sizes. I got this really tiny little set because I've never used this before and I wanted to try it before spending a little more money on it. But I'm going to mix this by hand until it's completely mixed together, and then I will show you some of the techniques that I have learned from Catherine's videos. So I'll speed this up while we mix, and here we go. All right, I think I am evenly mixed. Now, listen, this thing says that you mix these for about 2 minutes until thoroughly combined and uniform in color. That was not 2 minutes, and that is a workout. This stuff, I kind of was picturing that it would feel like Play-Doh, but it's almost like Play-Doh that's way too hard. It does have a clay consistency, except it's almost like, it's not stretchier, but it's, I don't know, it's really weird. It's like a Play-Doh Silly Putty mix, and I found that kneading it onto my table helped to mix it, but it is uniform. I've got it set, so I'm going to start working on rolling it out a little and following each of these lines, and then I'll show you guys how I am going to shape it so that it looks nice and smooth on my painting. Alright, a couple thoughts on this, you guys. First, I did not need all of it. I mixed way too much, which is fine. I'm going to grab another small canvas, and I might as well go ahead and do another one of these while I'm prepping anyway, so I'll do that off camera. But this is a little trickier to work with than I thought it would be, mostly because it gets sticky. I don't know if you can see it on my fingers, but the longer you mess with it, the warmer it gets, and it's not like using your liquid resin where it heats up and cures too fast. It's not doing that, but it gets stickier the more I mess with it. And so that was a little tricky. I don't know if you saw me with it sped up messing with trying to get it to stick down because it wanted to stick to me more than the canvas. So that was a little weird, but if this works and if I get it down correctly, I think it's going to look really cool. So the next step I'm going to do is take some water, and I'm just going to use my finger and smooth all these out because right now they're pretty rough. They've got some cracks in them. But I'm just going to smooth them with my finger. We'll speed that up as well, and then we will move on to the next step. Actually does make a huge difference. I like this a lot better already now. I know that Catherine does different shapes with these depending on what she's going for, but for now I'm just keeping them flat enough that I can make it smooth. I'm not going to worry about extra details, but this totally changed and it looks great now and it's stuck down really well. So we're going to let this cure for 24 hours. This has a 3-hour working time and a 24-hour cure, and then I will move on to the next step. Alright, it's been 24 hours, and what I ended up doing with my extra Epoxy Sculpt is I grabbed 2 smaller 6x8 canvases, and I was going to do something separate, but then I thought, how cool would this look if I extended my lines so that these could hang like this on the wall, and sorry, my camera tripod is kind of in the way, so this would be a little higher. But if you did the display like that, where these colors here and these colors here will line up. So I'm going to try it and see what happens since I had extra. I am now going to put a base layer of paint over all of this. I've got my colors where I want them to be, and I will show you those real quick. I'm using Apple Barrel Pavement, Apple Barrel Royal Violet, Folk Art Berry Wine, Deco Art Deep Burgundy, Folk Art Vintage Tea Rose, Deco Art Terra Coral, and then Apple Barrel Cameo Pink. All of the Apple Barrel colors came from Walmart for 50 cents each, and the other brands, the Folk Art and the Deco Art, I got at Michael's for $1 each. So I'm going to speed this up because this is all just straight acrylic painting with my paintbrush, and then I will move on to the next part. Okay, so a couple things on this. First, I do not like painting. This takes forever, and that's okay. That's why I'm trying something new. What I do like about this is that I got an idea of what colors I'm going to use, and I don't like the purple, and I'm sure some of you, as you're watching me do this, were like, oh my gosh, the purple doesn't match everything else. It doesn't. So what I'm going to do, I pulled in these taupe colors, Craft Smart. There's light taupe and dark taupe. And I didn't really like how close they were to each other as well. So for the light taupe, I'm going to add some white when I go back with the resin and do it. But what I'm going to do is mix some of the dark taupe with this wine color that I used and put that in there so that it's a better match, because this just doesn't match. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the color gradient, how it's going in and out. This, like I said, is way too dark, but I'm going to pour just a very, very off-white on the edges. So let me go ahead and touch up. I have a couple spots where I kind of messed up my paint, and the lines themselves will be sticking out. They'll be a permanent part of the piece that'll be showing. So I'm going to just touch up a few spots and change this color, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I believe that I am done painting. Again, painting is not my thing, but that's okay. Oh, dang it. Dang it. Nope, I gotta paint one more thing. So just a funny thought as I do this for Catherine. Catherine, at one point you had said, I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish this piece when you're doing the type that I like to do, and I thought, well, why? That's not hard, that's not a big deal, and now I'm doing yours, and you're used to it, and you make it look simple. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hard. It's funny how we get used to the way we're doing it. Alright. I'm much happier with these colors. I think this is going to look really nice. Fixing that spot in here. I actually said I was going to do taupe, but what I ended up doing was adding Apple Barrel English Navy to my berry wine folk art, and that gave that hint of purple that I was going for, but matching things better. So I'm really glad I did it that way. And I'm going to mix a 50-50 ratio of that when I actually pour as well. All right, so the next thing that needs to happen, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to use my glue gun, and I'm going to start adding glitter and stones. One of the things I love about the way Catherine makes hers is she does a lot of glitter. And if you guys look at a lot of my pieces, if you've seen my videos, I do a lot of glass, and I do a lot with different paints that float to the surface, but I don't do much with glitter. And I think, honestly, that a lot of that is more out of fear than anything else, because I don't want to make it look too gaudy. But then I'll see other people's and what theirs look like, and I'm like, wow, theirs is so sparkly, I should do more glitter and things. So I'm going to try to not be nervous about it and just go to town on the glitter. I will use my glue gun to attach the glitter right around these barriers that I've created once it's dry. And then I will do the same thing with adding stones in some places, and then we'll finish by pouring the resin. Alright, you guys, most of my paint is dry. I'm getting impatient. I'm not good at waiting for paint to dry. But while the last bits are, I'm going to start working on the next section. Let me real quick get my glue gun heating up here. If you look at the video where Catherine was showing how she does her geodes, in one of them she used these cool little metal studs all the way around one. And I didn't find anything like that, and you guys know I am the frugal resinista, and I didn't want to spend that much. So the other day while I was at Michael's, I saw these stickers, and they're called bling stickers. Ooh, fancy. And I got 2 packs of them because they were having a sale on stickers, so I think I paid $4 for the combination of all of these. So instead of doing the metal looking studs, I'm going to do these around one layer of this, and so I will start sticking those on while my glue gun heats up, and then I will start adding glitter and stones with the glue gun. real quickly before I start using my glue gun and putting all my sparkles down, sometimes I do my own glass, my crushed glass, and I am doing that today. There was a stained glass store going out of business in our town probably a couple years ago, and I just bought sheet after sheet of their glass that's already broken. Maybe it was a big piece that's just cracked in half, but what I did was I saved all of that and I picked different colors. So what I've done is I've gotten some of that out, and this one is, I don't know if you can tell real well in the light, this one is a bluish purple, but it's got some iridescence to it, so there's a little bit of like red and pink as well. So I'm going to mix that with some of my clear that I like to use because it'll show that dark color underneath, and so we'll fill that middle part with that. And I'm also going to mix into that these sparkle glitter that I got from Target, and this is almost a black, but it's got a purple to it when you tilt it. So I'm going to mix all of that together into a cup, and then I'm going to stick it into this first spot. After that, I've got more glitters that I got from Target. This one is a darker purple, but it's got red in it, so I thought that would be cool as we move out further to start incorporating the two colors together somewhere right around here. And then I've got this light pink that's going to go farther out on the edge, and then I'll also add just a little bit of other glass in some places. Alright, you guys, it's the next day, and I am getting ready to mix and pour all of my resin. I'm going to give you a couple quick notes on it, because once I start pouring, I want to just speed it up for you since this is already a long video. The first thing is, with all of these, I did two types of tape. I used painter's tape on the bottom edge, and then a separate piece around the side edges. What I'm going to do is let the resin sit for about 2 or 3 hours, and then peel the tape off the sides and let the resin run over the edges. I'm waiting because if I let it just go right away, I'll lose too much resin. But if I wait a few hours, it'll get just a little goopy so that it doesn't all fall off the canvas. And then when the whole thing's finished and cured, I'll pull the tape off the bottom. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm using the same colors that I used before, so you guys can just take note of those. But I'm going to start adding some Pearl-Ex powders to some of them. I have a few different colors available. I'm probably not going to use all of them, but just to give this depth in a few spots, I think in my lightest pink color, all I'm going to do is clear mixed with a little bit of the Macro Pearl powder pigment, just because I want that to be a really light pink, and I want it to have a different depth as some of the others. So there are a few of these that I might only add some clear with Pearl-Ex. Some of these I'm going to add like this slightly darker pink, this rose colored one. I'm going to use part of the paint color and also some of the white micro pearl. And I've told you guys different things with this color every single time here. But instead of mixing my navy with this time, I thought, well, why don't I go ahead and use my berry wine and then mix the duo blue into it to make the purple color. So I'm going to play around with just a few of those things, and when I'm finished, I can give you guys what exactly I ended up doing. And then with these as well, I'm going to mix the color for this dark taupe, and then what I think I'm going to do is just pour clear with the Pearl X over the light taupe, again, because I want different layers of depth to happen. So one last thing, I usually use Stone Coat Countertops Quick Coat resin, and for this project, I will be using their Art Coat, which looks like this, and it's got a much longer drying time. There's a couple of reasons that I'm doing this. One, because with the challenge, this is the way that Catherine does hers. She uses a slower curing resin than I do. And two, I have a lot of different colors going on, so what I want to do is mix a whole bunch of clear and then be able to take my time to mix each color and pour it without having a really tight time frame. So let's speed this up. Alright, you guys, it's been a few hours. I've moved to my pour box because I'm going to take some of this out. You can see that these stones that they were stickers, and so I thought they'd stick, but they really didn't. They're moving a little. So I'm going to use a little stick when I take this tape off and just put them back in place where they go. Stuff's a little too full in a few places, so I'm hoping that the resin running off the edges is going to help that. One other crazy thing, I put this here, and then I put the two little ones here so that I could have space to take the tape off, and my daughter came down and was like, "Oh, I like how you made these a matching set." And I didn't mean to, but they lined up. And I actually like that better than adding them to this, because with the taupe and things, they're kind of a different color scheme. So I just added some clear mirror glass from Michael's into the middle of that and made it a completely separate piece. So this is a two-piece geode painting, and then this is a one-piece, so that's kind of cool. So I'm going to peel this tape off and then use my finger to make sure that the resin's getting all the way around the edges, and then I will push my stones that have migrated a little back into place. Alright, you guys, I'm going to kind of watch this a tiny bit just because those little jewels are still migrating a tiny bit, but overall, I think this turned out really cool. I'm going to let it cure for a day, and I might hit it with the blowtorch one more time just to make sure any last bubbles are all set. And then I will show you guys how I draw my lines. Alright, you guys, my resin has cured completely, and I am on the final steps here. I'm going to do two different things with this piece. I'm going to draw some acrylic lines with white and gold paint pens. And then the other thing I'm going to do to add some more sparkle and things to this is I'm going to add some nail polish colors. One note on those, you really need to test these ahead of time. Here are the colors that I've grabbed to use. I've got like an orangey color with iridescent sparkles. I've got one with purple and teal, one with some pink and gold, and then a chunkier one with like a pink and a blue and a purple. So really test these ahead because certain brands will change color over time. If you use blues, that really changes to green over time. So I'm using some that has some blue in it, but it's clear polish that has blue sparkles. So I don't have to worry about that. Even so, I test these in like little jewelry molds and stuff mixed with resin to make sure first, because you do not want to ruin a piece by putting nail polish on that's going to change color. So I'm going to speed this up and we will finish our pieces. I'm going to do my nail polish now. One trick to the nail polish is that you want to kind of get started off the edge of your canvas so that you don't pour a big glop right onto the canvas. And then you want to move smoothly, but also kind of quickly because you don't want to have a big puddle of it anywhere. You guys, that's it. I was able to use some cool metallic nail polishes as well as sparkles, and I think the whole thing turned out really neat on this one and the big one. So I am going to give you guys a close-up in a few seconds here, and thank you as always so much for watching and for subscribing and for all the wonderful feedback you guys give me. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as the Frugal Resinista, and I look forward to painting more with you. Have a good day.